What's up, chats? How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the stream. It's Tuesday. No, it's not. That's stupid. This is a stupid thing to say. It's Monday. We're introducing Mayhem. I don't know what the tagline is yet for the Monday show. Oh, how's it going, everybody? We are coming right off the back of the Las Vegas Open Championships. I'm coming to you live from my now bare bones little recording studio here. Let me fix my camera a little bit. It's a little low. I am on. Ooh, hello. I am on a new. Oh, I think that's just how it is. I'm on a folding table right now. Basically, the only piece of furniture left in my apartment, because we are moving house. Big moves happening next week, but all my stuff's basically already over there. So it is a little sparse today in the studio, but that's okay. We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about, because we just had a ridiculous result from the LVO Championships. Let me know if my audio sounds okay. By the way, chat, I'm just on my headset right now. My normal microphone is having some troubles. I do have another one on the way, a new one. Hopefully that one works out, but if you've noticed my audio being a little bit funky in my recent videos, that would be why. Basically, I had to jump through some hoops to clean it up because it ended up being really weird and having some issues. So I've had to kind of do a lot of work on it, and it doesn't sound that great. So I'm just on my headset right now. Hopefully we'll have a better microphone for next week. But until then, we're just gonna deal with it. LOV, I assume that means LVO, was so boring. It was just Space Marines. Yeah, and to be honest, I think that's one thing that's probably worth discussing. I know that there's a lot of there's been a lot of ink spilled about who made it into the top 8. I know that there were some I don't know, some kind of controversies, I guess. There were a couple drops that changed what the top 8 looked like, which introduced some more Space Marines into that top 8. So maybe it wasn't 100% representative of how the top of the meta game looks. But to be honest with you, I'm gonna be real. I think that having a majority of Space Marines is fairly representative. It was 2 Ultramarine players, 2 non-compliant Space Marine chapters, Blood Angels and Deathwatch. They all did very well, and that was a lot of the finals games, was Inceptor squads shooting at each other. I think, yeah, I don't know. We called it as soon as the changes went through. Inceptors are very silly right now. I don't understand the desire to buff that unit. They were already good even after nerfing their Meteoric Descent, and then they were like, hey, why don't we give you a little points cut and +1 to wound? Okay, man, you need to calm down. And so we saw something like 17 Inceptors on the finals table. Jack Harpster was also playing 9. Oh my god, they're everywhere. What the heck? Holy crap, chat. Just stopped watching after day 2. Yeah, and to be fair, I don't know what the stream games looked like, because obviously what gets put on stream isn't entirely representative of what's being played, because it's only one game out of hundreds of games. So I don't know if that's particularly fair, but the top 8 was definitely a Marine. It was a Marine's world, and we're just living in it because they were just killing everybody, which is, you know, crazy. Surprising to see Deathwatch managed to win. Yeah, so the big win here, Mark Hurdle winning it with Deathwatch. First of all, let me tell you, if you want to win at 40k and you want to be incredibly, I don't know. Here's a cool thing in 40k you can do. If you want to be very consistent, you can just be a faction specialist, and literally all you play is one army. If you do that, the army to play is Space Marines, because they can play every archetype. Sometimes they suck, but usually they come back around like once or twice per edition, and they become really good, and then you get to win a bunch. And then you also get total mastery over all the units in the faction, and you get to build out perfect lists and stuff. Mark Hurdle is that person for, I would say, Space Marines in general, but also Deathwatch more specific. This man loves Deathwatch. He plays literally only ever Space Marines. And so if there was someone who would be favored at the point at which Space Marines become meta, it's for sure this man. So he waited for his time, and it came around, and he got to play his cool Death Watch and get to the LVO finals. The finals game in particular, kind of a non-starter, to be honest. It was a terrible finals game. LVO finals does have a little bit of a penchant for being kind of one-sided. I don't know why that is, but we have seen that basically all the way through the last couple of LVOs, right? We had last year was like the Necron, the weird Necron Deep Strike sort of drop. This year, obviously, is Death Watch. Back in 8th edition, we had like the Space Marine Mirror with when Richard Siegler won. It's been a lot of really just kind of like haymaker games. I think Jack Harpster back in 9th edition versus Sean Naden was a little similar to that. Jack just kind of swept the Orks off the table really quickly, and that was like sort of what it is. But it might just be something about sort of the arm wrestle at the top end of competitive play, where the two armies meet, and then whichever army is either advantaged or maneuvers better. If you're making very few mistakes in that interaction, then you sort of get you get to push over your opponent that much faster. I don't know. But it does seem to be a little bit of a trend, which is a little interesting. But I think more interesting are the other results. I think it's going to be fun to dive in and talk about. First of all, we have a couple of players who did go undefeated. We have a couple of players who went X and 1. And I think that's there enough discussion has been had about these other lists at the top sort of 16 or so. That talking about the stuff that almost got there is a little bit more interesting in my opinion. So I think that's what we're going to be doing today. You want to see less Space Marines in top tables get good? Sounds like a skill issue. Yeah. Yeah, dude, skill issue. I have +1 to wound with my whole army and full rerolls. But how come you can't win against that? Oh, indeed. Definitely skill issue. Thanks for people following over on Twitch, by the way. Appreciate that. For all you guys going over there. I don't know. We might play a game after this over on Twitch. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have anything scheduled for today because I was pretty sure we were going to talk about LVO for a while, but I do have some videos I want to record, so that might happen instead. Creations of Bile didn't do that well. Yeah, that was actually surprising to me, is that we didn't really see that much from Chaos Space Marines. In fact, we had two Chaos Space Marines in the top, but neither of them were Creations of Bile, which is really interesting. It was Jay Aggett's like really weird motor pool sort of parking lot skew, and then Derek Apshe with his Chaos Cult. So yeah, anyway, I think we'll just dive in and we'll just start talking about some X and 1 lists. We're also going to be continuing to talk about this subject tomorrow. I do have a Tactical Tuesday stream lined up, which people will be redirected over to after this stream completes, and I think we're going to talk both about LVO and talk about the Nottingham Super Major that happened last week, because we have a lot of big, huge event results to discuss. Space Marine nerfs coming or not? I think I would expect them. We're due. It won't be for a couple months. We probably won't see any changes until February or March. But I would expect to see some of these units go up in points for sure. I don't think we're going to see any mechanical changes for a while, but like, can we tax the Ultramarine characters, please, at the very least? I'm tired. I'm bored of it. I'm tired already. It's been a month and I'm already bored. So yeah, there's also like there's new metagame stuff coming out. Like who knows what impact Esper Militarum's going to have. Eldar has traditionally actually been very advantaged against Space Marines. So we'll see how that sort of lays out. I don't know. We'll find out. Should we talk about some Tyranids chats? Good thing they quadruple nerf Starshatter. Yeah, I don't know if I liked the quadruple nerf. I think the nerf on the reactive move was probably necessary. And I didn't feel like the stratagems were particularly overcosted. I thought the reactive move was very silly. It just seems like kind of obviously silly, like a 6-inch move in response to shooting, so you can't like post up a vehicle and then kill it. The defensive strats are like kind of whatever. I don't know. I don't know how often Starshatter or Necrons in general need like +1 to wound against an enemy audit objective. Like your Doomsday Arcs are wounding me on 2s anyway. It doesn't do anything. So that felt a little over the top, but I do think the reactive move needed to be changed. And I might also, I think the Chrono Impedance field might also maybe need something. But I think as it stands, it definitely brings that detachment more in line with the other detachments that are strong anyway. Reactive move should have just be changed to D6 rather than 6. Yeah, that's what they did. Yeah, I don't know if they needed the other changes. I would have liked something to be changed with the -1 damage. I don't know what that would have been, though. Maybe, like, introduce a wound cap to it, or I don't know. Maybe it's just a feel no pain or something. But the -1 damage feels a little silly, but that's okay. I don't think it's that big of a deal anymore. Will I finally admit Assimilation Storm is good? Well, let's take a look, chats. Let's talk about Nathaniel Bjorg, who's running some Tyranids. Okay. PCP logs me out. I must have something where it doesn't save my cookies, I think. Which is probably safer. But that does mean I'm probably gonna... Let me just fix that real quick. It does log me out like it feels like every time I try to access anything. Okay, it is working now. Alright, that's good. Cool. This is Vanguard, though. Some Vanguard Onslaught going down right here. So, yeah, I don't know. We're just going first, I guess. This is like really straightforward stuff. Triple Broodlord, Death Leaper, Neurotyrant with Hunting Grounds. So mess with your strategic reserves. Chameleonic Wing Type Tyrant. So he's got a nice little stealth. He's a little stealthy boy. Triple Gene Stealers. So we have the full 230-point Broodlord bricks with the scouting moves and the devastating wounds and the wound rerolls and stuff. And they're just going to punch you. Here they come. They're going to come and they're going to hit you with a bunch of claws and talons and stuff. And you're going to be sad. Looks like double Lictors plus Death Leaper, double Neuro Lictor. 15 Raveners is interesting, and no warriors at all. Von Ryan's Leapers. The Leapers are probably... they might be a little bit of an Ork concession. Orks and a lot of like other aggressive melee armies kind of have a struggle with Von Ryan's Leapers, especially if they're lighter on the armor save. World Eaters might not be so worried about them, but if you are worried, if you are sort of trying to counter pressure into the Vanguard Onslaught, so you're trying to like push Infiltrators up the table to block off the Broodlord scout moves, then having a Von Ryan's Leaper unit there, you can't really charge into it with anything short of like a 3+ armor save beat stick unit. And so if any of your light sort of aggressive units want to go in and clear them out, they're just going to kill you. So they're kind of a road bump for a lot of that stuff, you know, like scouting, jackals, basically any unit in the Ork Codex that's like smaller than a knob, I guess. Space Marine scouts, all that stuff it just gets wrecked by these guys. So I think that's actually a little bit of an interesting inclusion there. Screamer Killer is really interesting too. It gives you another late game beat stick, and it gives you another access to a Battle Shock check. So we have 2 Neurolictor Battle Shock checks. We have the on-target Battle Shock check from Surprise Ambush. And then also we have the Screamer Killer shot, and then potentially a second Surprise Ambush Battle Shock check to try to get +1 to wound on these Raveners. And also stop you from using Armor of Contempt, which is big. No melee warriors, though, chat. A lot of times we'll see the Triple Gene Stealers sort of back that up with Raveners and then back that up with a couple warrior units to kind of complete the jail. You're being just put into jail. They're trying to push you out on scoring. But we're not seeing that today, which is interesting. But instead, we're just taking these extra Battle Shock outlets, which is cool. That's cool. It's cool to see a Screamer Killer on the table, chat. I also think they're probably much more playable now, post like June, I guess, because of the terrain and movement FAQ, where they made it so that their big arms don't have to like cycle around terrain when they move, because the model is so poorly constructed to be a melee unit. The fact that they're move 8 is a travesty. These guys should be move 10 at least. But I guess we're making it work. It's they have the stat line of a box dread, but the physique of a redemptor. Certainly not really the an equivalent stat line. Look at these scores though, chat. He did go down in looks like round 6. 52-point loss, which is a little bit of a hard one, but 4 100s and a 97. Almost went in at first seed. I wonder if we hit like a... I guess we can look at the... Oh, he played against Mark Hurdle. Oh, okay. Alright, you know what? Fair enough. Yeah, I guess that army doesn't screen particularly well, which is interesting for Tyranids. Tyranids do typically have a lot of screens. I actually played against Tyranids over the weekend. I played in a tournament and played Tyranids in the finals game. And playing demons against Tyranids was just brutal because it's just immediately spore mines everywhere. So like as soon my opponent went first and was just able to just coat the battlefield in stuff to prevent me from redeploying. So I think I picked up using Realm of Chaos once. in 5 battle rounds, I picked up a Plague Bearer unit, I think. And literally the rest of the game, my stuff was just on the table wandering around because I couldn't teleport anywhere. But this army, the stuff that it's screening with is its combat. So if you're trying to block off the big doom drops, right, from the kill teams, you're doing it like you can do it with lictors and neurolictors. You can only like super lone op one of them, so you're probably losing some of your utility anyway. And then short of that, like we're doing it with our actual damage dealers. And the interesting thing about Deathwatch is they always have perfect positioning, and they're able to clear your screens from really far away. So if you can't protect your screens effectively, they can sandpaper you really well. Which is, I think, something that a lot of people don't really give Deathwatch credit for, is they can just be redeploying that Gravis unit and keep right at the edge of threat range, shoot out to potentially up to 42 inches with their bolters, and just like clip out the Von Ryan sleepers, right? Clip out the random Ravener units, and then set up for the big Doom Drop later where they kill like 2 Gene Stealer units and the game's over. So that does seem like it would be tough. Without like gargoyles and things that we could just like feed into that unit until you can push them away on primary, it seems like it would be a little bit difficult. Folger Piles. We can take a peek at Folger Piles. Our current world champion. Is he even in the first? That's our first page. Maybe I misspelled his name. No, I can't find him, chat. Will it break my computer to show all 1,000 results? Looks like he lost in round 3 to... Oops. Round 3. Yeah, to Josh Roberts. That's... You know what? If you're going to lose to anybody that's not, Mark Hurdle, it's probably Josh Roberts. I bet that game was insane. That's an 80-point loss, by the way. That is a hugely high-scoring loss. We can talk about Folger's list, though. He was running Solar Spearhead, so he has moved on to the metagame hotness for Adeptus Custodes. The new and exciting detachment. I do think that Space Marines have this detachment's number, though. Space Marines are so well-rounded that they don't really care about Venerable Contemptors. That's something that I think is kind of artificially buoying up Solar Spearhead's results. At least it was for the first week or so. We saw like 3 or 4 GT wins like right off the bat from Solar Spearhead as soon as it released. And I think a lot of it was that it can get really favorable matchups into like shooting or melee only armies, where these Venerable Contemptors just get to like wander up in the middle of the table. You shoot them, they fall over, they stand back up, they take the objective, and you're like, well, great, this is awesome. But Space Marines shoot them, make them fall over, and then use them as a charge target to get to the objective to take it from you. So they actually become kind of almost a a liability because they're giving your opponent this springboard to jump off of, where like Marneus Calgar or Gilliman can just sort of like jump in up onto their position and then put them in the dirt a second time. You also there's weird interactions with them and Oaths of Moment, because Oaths of Moment's a persistent effect. If you have something like a respawn, your persistent effects will continue once you jump back on. So something like Gilliman can like kind of bounce Oaths of Moment off these guys, which is a little bit weird. So that it doesn't shock me that we saw that one go down. Adamantine Talisman on the Blade Champion, make him hit harder. Augury uplink for the 5+ Feel No Pain on the Telemon. Heavy Dreadnought. This is I think there's a weird... it's kind of a bug, maybe. Sometimes it shows additional Telemon Heavy Dreadnoughts where it means only 2. I'm not sure if that's the case, though, here. Some list builders will like list the Dreadnought both in the character section and the non-character section. I'm not really sure why it does that, but 2 Caladius Grav Tanks, Custodian Wardens for the Blade Champion to hang out with, double Prosecutors, a Telemon, a triple Contemptor, Dreadnought. Yeah, sort of normal stuff, I think. Otherwise, little Dreadnought heavy, double Telemons feels like a lot, but especially if we're the Adamantine Talisman feels good on the Blade Champion. The second Telemon feels a little bit underpowered compared to the Feel No Pain guy, but I don't know. He did run 3? Okay. That's good to know. Yeah, I think it's new recruit that, like, for whatever reason, duplicates your Telemon in different sections of your list when you add a character version. It's kind of weird and dumb, but just how they've decided to communicate that it has the keyword. Steven Box had an interesting Custodes. How did he do? He went 4-1-1. Ooh! That final round, though, the round 1 draw is like really funny. He played Ben Urich in the finals, who was playing Bridgehead. Yeah, that seems like it would be tough. All right, well, let's take a peek at Stephen Box's list. I think Adeptus Custodes is probably going to suffer against Bridgehead, in my opinion. It's a lot of AP, just in general. It's a lot of AP3 shooting, like from Meltaguns and Plasma Guns. And you're getting, +1 to wounds here, wounding Custodic bodies on 2s and like 2-shotting them with a million trillion Tempestus Scion shots. Caught in my headphone cord here. And you don't have that much to screen them with. You really need like successive screens to be able to push back Bridgehead's like rapid fire shots, and if you can't do that, they're just gonna like clear your little units with mortars and stuff, and then doom drop you and kill half your army, and then the game's over. Seems good. I don't know. Would have expected Harpies to do better. Me too. Where were our Harpies? Justice for Harpies, chat. He's running an Alara Shield Captain, triple Dawn Eagle Jetbike Shield Captains. Oh, this is Shield Host. This isn't Solar Spearhead. Yeah, okay. All right. So the Alaris Shield Captain, we do actually have Alaris Custodians. Fascinating. Okay. So we might be doing here is, I think we're just, so we have a triple Venatari. So we're playing like a really, really... a kind of a finesse-oriented game. We have a little bit of utility in Witch Seekers and Calidus Assassins. So we have an Uppy Downy and a Scout unit for early game stuff. The Dawn Eagle Jetbike Shield Captains give you their once per game move after attacking, so they can charge and then move. So you can clip out utility units and then keep your guys in safety. And then with the Alaris Shield Captain, you can keep him in reserve alongside all of the Venatari, so it's 9 Venatari. And then you can Doom Drop a Rapid Ingress on your opponent's turn. So you can free strat Rapid Ingress off of the Alaris Captain and then duplicate it with all of the Venatari. And you're dropping 4 units out of Rapid Ingress that then charge your opponent. So you're like clipping their screens early with the Virtus Praetors and trying to keep yourself safe. He's also running a Hurricane Bolter unit, so he's got a little bit of like anti-infantry shooting in here too to kill like little 5-man units or whatever. And then once the screens are down and your opponent doesn't have enough to stop your big drop from happening, you just drop a bunch of dudes behind ruins. They all like move 12 inches and then just punch your opponent in the face. That's cool. That is a cool list, chat. That's very cool. We have Ignore Cover on the Dawn Eagle Jet Bike Shield Captain, so he probably goes into the Hurricane Bolter unit, so they have, I think they're AP 1-2 damage now with Ignore Cover, which is great. And then from the Hall of Armories on the other one, so he hits much harder as well. That's neat, chat. That's also neat. Are they gonna keep playing today? No. It's all ogre now, chat. They are done. They're all done. All right. Well, we talked about some Custodes. Let's break into this top. Oh. Apologize, I'm gonna scroll really quickly here, chat. I guess we can talk about Ben Urick's Bridgehead. Do we care, chat? This is old Bridgehead. This is gonna change. I think we're gonna put a moratorium on Astra Militarum for right now, because like I almost didn't talk about them in my best armies in 40k, but the list is gonna change fundamentally. I think as of like next week, once the Militarum Codex becomes actually tournament legal. We do have a little bit of Tau Empire action over here. Donald Plummer with a oh god. Oh no. What has happened? He's monkeying around with the monkeys and typewriters have added additional spaces into his list. Can we just maybe can we fix this? Can we remove these extra spaces? So this is not quite as horrible to read. So he's playing Auxiliary Cadre. Ah. It's so big. Everything's so big. How has he done this? It's cool to see some Auxiliary Cadre and sort of showcase here finally. Feels like it flew under the radar for a really long time, which kind of shocks me because it seems really powerful. Like, I don't know. All right, we got a nice version coming up over here. Oh, he put so many units in his army. Oh my god. Alright, here we go. Here's the list. I've got it figured out. Donald Plummer. Alright, this will be hopefully much more legible. So it's a Shady Lady, Commander Shady Lady. Plus a Cold Star Commander, Cold Star Battlesuit Commander. Alongside, he's got a Fire Knife Battlesuit team. I didn't take down his weapon options. I think these are just missile pods. Yeah, we're running a missile pod team, it looks like. So getting those hit rerolls if you're at starting strength, and then they're just good at sort of clipping out random stuff. But getting +1 AP on those guys is pretty sweet because you can get to AP2, ignore cover, and then hit rerolls. You're winning most of the, like, basically everything that's not a vehicle on 3s with those things, and they're just very good at killing medium infantry. So pretty nice tool to have into Space Marines, and you're doing it from long enough away that oftentimes you don't really get kicked back too hard. We have a Cold Star Commander. Yeah, that's the Cold Star Commander. An Ethereal. Firesight team is the caddy for Admired Leader, so that's the +1 OC buff for auxiliary units. Important to note, You can put it on Crute Hounds. When we talked about this detachment originally, we actually assumed that you couldn't, because according to the GW app, and this is a reason that the GW app is not a good resource for competitive events. There's a little bit of a thing. According to the GW app, Crute Hounds do not have an OC value, so they can't be improved. That's not correct, as we discovered. They, in fact, are OC0, so you can add 1 OC to them. You can make the Crute Hounds OC1 if you want to go do like actions with them, or you want to go grab objectives, which is a big deal. So that's pretty rad. But again, huge error on the on the GW app's part, which is unfortunate. Because that is actually a big deal for this detachment. We have a broadside battlesuit team. I imagine those guys are just heavy rail rifles for some anti-tank shooting. They sure are. Heavy rail rifles, missile drones, seeker missiles as well on top of those guys. Ghost Keel battlesuit, double hammerhead gunships. I think these are rail cannon dudes. Oh no, they're ion cannons. Yeah, so we are pushing the AP up to AP3 with the ion cannon shots there, which is kind of nice. Thanks to the detachment ability. 2 just units of 10 Crew Carnivores, 2 units of 3 Crutox Rampagers. So we have a little bit of sort of melee counterpunch here with these guys. They can sort of hang around around the middle and then use their advance and charge to actually maneuver effectively around terrain to then actually hit stuff in the center of the table. Part of the issue with these guys on release is that they were slow enough and mounted keywords, so they couldn't go through walls. What's that? They weren't fast enough to actually realistically charge anything if they were also in a defensive position. But now, with advance and charge and potentially auto 6 advance, they can actually go pretty far. A Pathfinder team for some forward operation and spotting, 1 Skyray gunship for some anti-tank, 2 units of stealth battlesuits, 3 units of Vespid Stingwings. So just a ton of utility in this list. We got a little bit of long-range fire coming out of the Firesight team and the gunships. And then mostly just like doing annoying objective control stuff with the Crute Carnivores and Vespid Stingwings, just getting OC buffed and then just blitzing your objectives every turn, which is pretty cool. GW app not truthful, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a whole thing. At least they're not making Shuriken catapults strength 36 anymore, so that's good. We've graduated from that to slightly minor typos, but they are still relevant. So it's unfortunately not super reliable, which is too bad. Yeah, I think we're gonna talk about the other Tau stuff in tomorrow's stream. I think we're gonna go through a bunch of undefeated lists. So right now we're pushing through our X and 1s today, and then tomorrow we'll do a little bit more of a breakdown of the undefeated guys, the X and O's. Best Custodes was 41. Is that true? We did talk about Folger's list. Yeah, I guess that's true. 41 feels low for Custodes, but obviously at the top end of the meta here, things go kind of insane. So who knows? Who knows what's actually best? Drew Salzborn. He's a local guy over here, rocking some Leagues of Votann. 5-1 in LVO with Leagues of Votann, chat. Imagine. Incredible. He's running Oathband. A Call with Grim Demeanor, so ignore modifiers. 2 units of 10 Hearthkin Warriors, 3 units of Sagitors, 3 units of 5 Chthonian Berserks. Interesting if we're putting them inside the Sagitors. We're running Land Fortresses, so I imagine they're going into the Land Fortresses. 3 units of Sagitors, 3 Chthonian Berserks. So we probably split Hearthkin Warriors into the Sagitors to fill those guys up and add a bunch of scoring to the army. Chthonian Berserks jump into the Land Fortresses. We sort of, this style of build sort of, it body blocks early with Hernkin Pioneers and Hernkin Jaegers, so it uses those to kind of control the midboard. That opens up space for the Land Fortresses to just sort of sit in the center, and you just windmill slam Void Armor on them constantly and make them super tough to kill. Your opponent, they're not, like... They're tough and they do a lot of damage, but they don't do like infinite damage. They're kind of, their damage output is very spiky, so they're not going to win the game by themselves. But in order for your opponent to take back the center of the table, the land fortresses, you have to deal with the land fortresses, which means you have to probably overcommit into them to actually ensure that you kill them. Then the Chthonian Berserks pop out, you get Oathed, and the Einhir Hearthguard, like Rampant Ingress or just Deep Strike in and absolutely level you. I wonder what the loss here was to... It was... Marshall Peterson. Oh, no, it wasn't. No, it was Skari. Just kidding. He beat Marshall Peterson. It was Skari. That is interesting, but that does seem like it would make sense. This is a very, a kind of flighty list that isn't going to fight you in a straight-up fight. And also has a lot of, like, random anti-infantry and stuff that's really good at clipping out those big units like the Hearthkin Warrior, or the Einhir Hearthguard. And so, being able to compete with the land fortresses without actually engaging with them, I think, is like largely how you beat this a list like this. But we were discussing a little bit the kind of interaction between this list and the Bridgehead Strike, which seems like it would be very good into an army like Leagues of Votann. But we have a lot of random units, right? We have 4 units of 5 Hearthkin Warriors. We have all of these infiltrators and screens and stuff that we can use to just like push out the Deep Strikers, so you can get limited attacks into the land fortresses. And then as soon as the Tempestus Scion units are down, because I believe that this was what he played in the previous round. Yeah, we were having a whole discussion about it. It was a Bridgehead Strike. Once the Tempestus Scions are down, the Einhir Hearthguard goes so insane that as soon as those Scion units get Judgment Tokens on them, I think the Einhir Hearthguard might just kill 2 units of Tempestus Scions or something close to that in one go, between their plasmas and their grenades, because you can give them sustained hits too. They're hitting and wounding on 2s, and they're probably handing each target. So if you're like splitting 5 and 5, they're probably handing each target something like 30 saves, I think, which is insane when you think about it. This Einhir Hearthguard is just a silver bullet to those big, huge infantry squads, and that seems like it would be the kind of nail in the coffin there. So it's an interesting matchup. Very cool list, obviously. Huge congratulations for doing that with Leagues of Votann, which is struggling right now. It kind of got hit in the crossfire, the Space Marine crossfire, where their whole thing was basically just like having lots of 2+ saves and Armor of Contempt, and then Armor of Contempt got nerfed out from under them. And they're like, well, this sucks. Oh boy. Can we go back and talk about Tyranids real quick? Like, the Gene Stealers are cost effective now. 10 Gene Stealers being 20 more points than 20 Hormagaunts doesn't seem like great balance. I mean, they do different things. Like, I don't know. The difference between Gene Stealers and Hormagaunts is their level of damage output. Hormagaunts are representing a faster unit, right? Because they're... assuming you're playing outside Vanguard, and even when you are playing within Vanguard, Hormagaunts are 2 inches faster. They're 2 inches faster, and they represent 4 times the OC value. So the goal of those Hormagaunt units is to disrupt scoring. You can oftentimes, if you play your movement correctly, take 2 objectives with them, like once per game, essentially. Gene Stealers don't do that, right? They'll go in and they'll hammer a unit, and then they'll probably get punched in the face and like lose a bunch of models. And they're low OC value to begin with, so they struggle to compete on objectives in the same way that Hormagaunts do. But Hormagaunts can potentially just like run in and flip primary once per game by like 10 points, and then call that a day.
1+ saves donated $2 through Super Chat. 0 Necrons may top cut quad nerf still egregious.
Yeah, quad nerfers too hard. Always do too much. I don't disagree. I do think that, I mean, it might be controversial. I do think that Starshatter was too strong. But I think, I don't know. We're in an era of over nerfs. Like, where the fuck did Adepta Sororitas go? They were dropped from orbit. And yeah, I think something similar happened to Necrons over here, unfortunately for them. We did get we got 28th place. We got Jacob Wagner rocking some Necrons. It is a Starshatter arsenal. Let's go. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think we talked about it already. I don't think they needed to change the stratagem costs. I think the -1 damage is the most egregious thing in the detachment. In addition to the reactive move got changed, so it's probably fine. But then they also just like nuked all the strats. So, like, I don't know. I don't really understand why. Pretty silly. Best Sisters was 4-1-1. Yeah, that's not too bad. GW did classics over nerf to Starshatter? Yeah, I agree. Definitely. If they made every one of the changes when applied to the king, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, like, I think the reactive move probably needed looking at. But I don't know. I don't disagree that, like, making a... like, I don't even know if, like, giving +1 to wound to the Silent King is, like, that strong, right? Like, it's only usable in some instances, and it, like, doesn't really matter for his Minears, only for his little guns, and most of them are, like, middling AP anyway. Like, I don't really understand where the +1 to wound was coming out. Like, I could guess, I don't know, like, flayed ones or something? Like, just big bricks of, like, little guys or something? But those aren't really supported by the detachment anyway. That nerf was, like, flabbergasted me. I didn't really understand that at all. Maybe we'll see it reworked in a couple months in an update in the future. Or not, I don't know. This is just running kind of normal stuff, it looks like. 2 Hexmark Destroyers, one has the fall back and shoot, one has the -1 damage enhancement, Imotech the Stormlord to fuel the strats. Flayed ones, Ophidians, 3 individual Locusts, a Tombblade unit, Canoptic Reanimator, triple Doomsday Arc, triple Triarch Stalker. Seems like pretty normal to me. Pretty straightforward. I do like the level of utility, because I think that's one thing that a lot of these Starshatter lists fall into, is like running all the big things. They're just taking stacks on stacks of vehicles, and they run out of like little dudes to do actions with. And I do think that having all like 6 dedicated utility units right in here, or 7 even, is the way to go. For sure. Nice that the Stalker is viable. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it was good already. Like, it saw play in those Hypercrypt Legion lists, where it could Cosmic Precision, like 4 OC onto objectives randomly. And for 110 points, it's really difficult to kill. 4+ invulnerable save, plus an armor save, plus 12 wounds is like wild. And Scout 9, like, looking at that as a demon player, and like I look at the Triarch Stalker and I look at my fucking Burning Chariot, I'm like, are you kidding me? This thing, it hits harder, it shoots better, it's harder to kill, it scouts, and it's cheaper? Okay. Whatever, dude. But they definitely, they synergize really well with the detachment for sure. Also, they have a 3 damage melee attack. Can we talk about that real quick? What the fuck is that? Why is it 3 damage? Eat your heart out like every Tyranid monster that has like AP02 damage. This guy's just like kicking the shit out of you. It's nuts. They're really good. Isn't it partially a self-fulfilling prophecy that a lot of the top players went for Marines because they thought they'd be best? Not really. When you're talking about a player pool as big as LVO is, you get to the point where your sample size is large enough that you start to introduce kind of like inconsistencies into that, right? So like if the belief that Space Marines were the strongest was erroneous, I think that the chance for like the true believer, right, like the basement savant who actually knows what the metagame is and has the perfect counter, there is, you know, there are enough players that those will probably have a representation enough to actually see success. And the fact that we didn't really see that so much, I think, is speaks to the fact that I think Space Marines are actually good. if it was like you know, like a 30-person GT and there's one dude in there who is playing something that's not Space Marines, who's like relatively competitive, then like I would agree with you. But I think that, you know, we're talking about 1,000 players, right? If there was a big enough like movement of people who thought that Space Marines were not at the top, I think we would have seen them. What's interesting is we didn't see that many Orks. That was one thing that really has kind of shocked me. Speaking of, now that we're getting to the Ork part of the of the standings here, Orks killed the entire game last week or the week before last. Right? Like they literally swept the scene. And where did they go? They had no wins this week. Like none of them. What's the top Ork? Is it Cliff Russell? Is it 31st place? Yep. There are what, 2 Orks in top 50? Like what happened to 2 Orks? Where did they go? It's Ork magic. We believe Space Marines are good, so they become good. Yeah. Yeah. But how many times like has the opposite happened, right? Where like, I would say even Orks, right? Because there was a lot of discourse about how strong this faction would be, and it's kind of what I was thinking about it. There's a lot of discourse about like, oh man, Orks should be crazy. Their new shooting is really good. And you're like, okay, cool. And then a bunch of people brought Orks because they thought they were the best faction, and then they didn't do that great, right? And so, like, if the metagame was different than what we're seeing, I think we would have seen, you know, maybe more Ork players to see success here, but we didn't. Because, like, let me tell you, listen, Noah Bedham and Cliff Russell are top 8 LVO players. You know, if they're like on their game. These guys are traditionally like X1 at these like huge super major events, and these guys are GT winners in the past as well. So if anybody was gonna take a super duper like the new meta faction and bring it to the top 8, I think it would be like one of these people. But it seems like they were struggling a little bit. Best counter to Marines, more Marines. I mean, that might literally be the case. That's an interesting, it's like an interesting effect of this Deathwatch win, right? We kind of touched on it for a moment when we talked at the start of the show. But I don't think I said the most obvious thing, which is that if you're not like an Ironstorm Spearhead, like really, really high toughness, heavy armor, super, super like tough army. Deathwatch are the anti-Space Marines, right? You're coming in with this army that has essentially only 3 damage, like 2 and 3 damage weapons. Every single squad is equipped with multiple 2 damage melee weapons and multiple big damage range weapons, right? The Indomitor kill team itself is, if you throw the aggressors away, which to be honest, I don't even know if I would have played. If I was Flare Colonel, I think they're just in there to extricate the unit from melee. So in the instances where you're playing against really aggressive melee armies, they're useful. But they reduce the total damage output at range. But you're talking about this unit that has like 8 3 damage gunshots, right? Because it has the Mastercrafted rifle on the captain. That's 3 damage, right? Am I crazy? I forget. Whatever. He has a big gun. Plus you have 2 3 damage heavy bolters. Plus you have 2 damage bolt rifles. Plus you have 24-inch range belted guns, right? So this unit is firing a ton of high AP, high, like mid-strength, I'd say, multi-damage shooting. You have the assault bolters on the Talon Strike squad, AP2, 2 damage, strength 5 twin linked. Like that's gonna scythe through Marine infantry. And then even if you're shooting at the bigger stuff, you have Thunder Strikes. So all of this stuff is perfectly statted to kill, is almost specifically other Space Marines. If, like I said, if you are playing against stuff that's a little bit more armored, I think they may run into some problems. But I would say into most varieties of Space Marines, Deathwatch are probably advantaged. So it is basically true that the best counter to Space Marines is a different Space Marine. That different Space Marine just has to put like Teflon coated armor piercing rounds in their bolter, and if they do that, they become great at it. But I do think that these guys are a nightmare for other Space Marine armies to deal with. It's also a fact that Space Marines are just kind of generally bad at screening guns. If you're not taking Phobos Librarians, then it's very difficult to screen long-ranged attacks to the point where they can't hit your stuff. Because your screens are relatively expensive, right? You're talking about like the cheapest screening unit being like a 70-point scout squad. And you don't have that many of them. So you're going to screen for like a turn maybe, and then the Deathwatch are going to siphon the screens out, and then they're going to jump in and they're going to kill the core of your army. And you're not doing too much back to them as they're doing that, if their positioning is correct. So I do think that these guys are like, you know, they are pretty well suited to be a counter to, I would say, largely the infantry focused Space Marines. That's probably why we saw the finals be so one-sided, is that we're talking about an army that's entirely 3 and 4 wound infantry models into an army that's entirely 2 and 3 damage ranged weapons. And you're like, okay, man. This sucks. It did feel like the Ultramarines played very aggressively. Maybe they felt they had to in order to like be able to sort of recoup that matchup differential, but I don't know. I'm not sure. The hardest match for Deathwatch on stream was Jack with Tube Indicators. Yeah. Yeah, and I think Blood Angels also, they don't engage with Deathwatch like on the Deathwatch terms, right? What Deathwatch want you to do is like exactly what happened to the finals, right? So the finals is basically, it was like, the weird thing about Ultramarine Vanguard is that the entire game is about how much damage the 400-point Centurion brick does. And it seemed like Ben Neal poked the Centurion brick to get work done out of it, right? So he's trying to get value out of the 20% of his army that's bound up in this one this huge Death Star unit. So he pokes the Death Star unit, and then instantaneously every single Deathwatch gun can shoot it, right? So it just like it gets laid low and gets blown out, and that's most of the game. Blood Angels don't do that because Blood Angels they don't try to do that like fire trading game plan. What they're going to try to do is keep themselves out of line of sight, use rapid ingresses, and then like pounce in on those big bricks that jump in, and then engage everything in melee and like continuously fall back in charge and can like just sort of grind you down from there. Deathwatch don't love being engaged. They don't really have any way to stop rapid ingresses from hitting them, and like we talked about, the like 2+ armor save high toughness stuff is like, they're not useless against it, but that is the toughest profile for them to kill. So it does not surprise me that the toughest game for Mark would have been the Blood Angels. Now obviously he's really good at killing Sanguinary Guard and stuff once it's on the table. The problem is that he has to kind of like take the hit to the chin in order to set up that situation. And if they get a lot of work done and can engage a bunch of stuff, then it's really tough to win from there. Imagine if Scari's main army was Deathwatch. he's one D letter army away. Imagine if he was playing Black Templars. How different would that have been, you know? What about Slaanesh? I don't think Slaanesh is super reliable at it. You need they have very little way of interacting at range, and so Space Marines can kind of like pick them apart, especially if they have really aggressive units. I like the Bellacore builds. They feel like they might have more of a play. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. But I don't know enough about that matchup, but Marines are typically pretty good at killing like Slaanesh stuff and denying Slaanesh from getting into engagement. What are you doing? My cat's here, by the way. Everybody say hi to Inky. Ooh, hello. Big girl. You gonna sit up? Yeah. Maybe. No, she wants to sit on my arm. Okay. You can do that. Do I think Black Templars got hit too hard? I do. But I also think that the supplement chapters... will probably look a lot better once they're actually fully released, right? Because Black Templar Space Wolves, they're not like really released yet, and like we'll see later this year what they look like. Because if they were on the level of Blood Angels or Dark Angels, right, they would look a lot nicer. But right now they're just an index, which I don't think is getting much attention from Games Workshop. It also sucks that their Grospus detachment was kind of whatever, but it is what it is. All right, let's talk about Orks, chat. Should we talk about these Orks? Can we ask ourselves the question, why aren't Orks doing better? All right, so Cliff Russell, by the way, this man loves his meme skews. So we'll see if he's doing a meme skew today. No, this is kind of a normal list. It's just a bunch of guns. I mean, that's fair. I do think that giving Orks more interesting shooting definitely makes Dread Mob like way cooler. And I think it brings it up potentially on par with like a Tactical Brigade or a War Horde, which is really, it is cool. It's nice that like one updated datasheet can totally redefine the faction in a way that makes a lot of their detachments much more playable, which is nice. Even the good video on the winning list. Thank you, man. Appreciate that, buddy. 2 Orks, 1 Crump. What a callback, dude. That video came out when I was in, like, elementary school. I can't believe the meme has survived, like, fucking 20 years, dude. That's nuts. Oh, man. If Sky ran Deathwatch, he'd run the Corvus Blackstar. Dude, I think the Corvus Blackstar would see play if you could still put an entire Indomitor kill team in it. If you could put 22 models worth of Indomitors inside that thing, you'd probably see it. You'd probably see some play. Especially because getting them close to enemies is the tough part. And if you can like do weird like rapid ingress plays with it, I think it would be good. But not to be anymore. Now it has an actual transport capacity. Fucking trash. Void Raven Bomber 500 points win. Yeah, we would see the Corvus Blackstar get like horribly nerfed because Skari is running 3 of them. He was a Deathwatch player. So this list is running triple big mech with shock attack guns, one with the Git Finder goggles, 3 regular mechs as well, and a Zodkrod Wartsnaga. So we have a bunch of mechs to turn units into mech units to then give them the ability to press the red button. We have a big unit of 20 Gretchen for Zodkrod to hop into, 3 units of trucks, 2 units of flash kits, or 3 units of flash kits, excuse me. I don't, the mechs can't, can they join flash kits, actually? I don't know the answer to that. To give them the, to give them the thing, they can only join, like, guns, right? That's their deal? Can't find their datasheet now. Someone help me. I think these flash kits might just be hanging out. Boys, Ludas, mech guns, knobs, breakaboys, tank busters. Yeah, no, flash kits are just chilling. We're completing the shooting meme. Like, listen, we're shooting a gun. We got to get the guys who are good at shooting guns into the army. That's just how it goes. Commandos for forward operator. Ludas for the. I actually don't know where the different big mechs jump into. The shock attack on big mechs are good into Ludas because they give them the red button, but they also give they gain hit rerolls targeting enemies and objectives. And that gun only hits on 5s at base, so it really needs the hit rerolls. But you can also join them to tank busters to get +1 to hit against monsters or vehicles. So like, you're probably in the Ludas, but there's an argument to go into the tank busters anyway. And we might just be dropping mechs into tank busters regardless, to give them like the red button bonuses, in addition to all the other stuff they're getting from their like pulsar rocket and when shooting vehicles and stuff. So I imagine that's how it ends up working, but you could flip it around if I guess you really wanted to. 3 trucks as well. Oh, excuse me. Got a hell of a sore throat last couple of days, Chance. I apologize. 3 trucks as well, probably just to ferry the flash gets around. So a lot of mid-board control. We can block out any... you can use the commandos to block out anybody blocking the screen, and then the Gretchen unit can screen 9-inch scout thanks to Zagrod Wartnaga. He also gives you... he doubles your movement on the Wog turn, too, so you can Wog, like, top 1 to give yourself the invulnerable save and the Gretchen the extra movement, so they can... As long as you can block out the mid-board, they can scout forward, then Wog, and then run forward and charge, and just tag everything to stop you from moving. So they put you in jail turn 1. And then that opens you up to, like, you can block out your opponent's movement in the into the angles at which they can shoot your guns. So you can stage your guns really aggressively as well. And if you can set that all up, then you just, like, devastate them on round 2 with, like, a bunch of guns, a bunch of shooting. And the interesting thing is, like, outside of maybe the flash gets, nothing really cares about the Wog because it's all not very good at melee. So you're basically only getting the benefit of the invuln save anyway. So you can Wog really aggressively and really early just to buff Zodgrod's unit, and it's, like, good enough for that it's fine. Especially because they're -1 to be hit and wounded too, and then have an invuln save. Like, it's really hard to kill this unit in 1 turn. You look at a Gretchen unit, like, oh, that'll die. And you're like, no. You don't understand. These are like T5 Gretchen that like also have an invuln save, and also, like, they do, like, funny wound allocation stuff because they have 2 wound models in the unit plus Zodgrod. It gets annoying. They're very difficult to kill. Yeah, the Ludas hit on 6s, but the shock attack on hits on 5s. I wasn't talking about the Ludas. The Ludas shooting in Dread Mob almost literally doesn't matter. They're a 100-point upgrade for the shock attack gun mech, because his accuracy is relatively low, and so you want the rerolls from their ability to buff him, and then also get, like, extra sustains and stuff, because his attacks are really high value if you can convert them. Lost a Soul Grinder to Flash gets in Overwatch from full health. Yeah, that sounds about right, dude. That's the classic Ork. That's the classic Ork experience. You're like, I have to trigger this at some point, and I just have to hope it doesn't destroy me. But I like those abilities that trigger when you are, when you're holding an objective or when you're on an objective, because there's, like, really easy counterplay. It just requires you to give something up. What are you doing, kitty? Aw, she knocked over a cup and now she's scared. Poor baby. Imagine being as scared as a cat. We can keep talking about Orks real quick here. Noah Bedham with Green Tide. Went X1. Double Pain Boy. Double War Boss. Weird Boy. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4... 4 boys, 4 20-mans and a 10, so 90 boys. 2 trucks, double flash gets, Gretchen, Commandos, Ludas, Storm Boys. A lot of utility, plus double tank bustas, yeah. And I think this is the real interesting part about tank bustas, is that they're so self-sufficient. They just slot into any detachment and give you a gun. It's interesting to see the flash kits being played as well. I think they're mostly there for, like, some screen clearing and to clear out, like, movement blockers, so that you don't have to commit, like, melee units and boys units to the fight in order to do that. But just the existence of tank buses, like, changes the dynamic so hard, because instead of just relying on literally nothing but Ork boys to hopefully pin your opponent to the point that you can win, you actually have the opportunity to maybe kill them before you commit into melee, and that's wild. Plus, it forces your opponent to, like, play more conservatively, especially for Green Tide, which typically runs literally no ranged attacks. Having some number of guns forces your opponent to, like, at least hug cover or stay out of line of sight on turn 1, and that, like, messes with their positioning too. Really cool unit, man. I like tank bustas. Jury's out on whether they're broken or not. They maybe are a little undercosted. 120 is like really good when you compare them to a lot of other stuff, but on the flip side, like I think what they do for the faction is so interesting, and they almost like it's like a rising tide raising all ships almost. Like they just make every detachment better because you suddenly have this really good gun unit in your army. I don't know. I think they're really cool. They're also inconsistent enough that they don't feel like super oppressive when they shoot you. Like a big, fully tricked out unit of tank busters like flings into you. It's like 120 points plus an 80-point character or whatever, and they dump into you and they spike low on shots or whatever, and you could just take very little damage from them, or like get most of the way dead but not all the way dead, and then kill them on the correct back, and it doesn't feel like it's super crazy. Have I ever been shot by tank busters out of a truck? Yeah. But then they don't get all their benefits and stuff. I'm way less scared of tank busters out of a truck. Unless I'm like, I guess, a big infantry squad. But even then. It's the +1 to hit and wound, +1 strength, +1 AP. Like that when they go all in, that's the one I'm worried about. Otherwise, they're just rolling a bunch of random shots at 5-up ballistic skill and hoping for the best. Killed Gilliman from a Land Raider Overwatch. Like a Redeemer? Yeah, that's normal. Question is, why was Gilliman taking Redeemer Overwatch? That seems like a him problem. Gotta engage that thing. All right, somebody asked for Imperial Knights. Let's find our top Imperial Knights player. Bruce Kiefer, 57th place. That's another interesting one. I'm so fascinated by the results for this LVO because it feels like it, to some extent, it is not. It's the results are significantly different than what we've been seeing on smaller table events, right? Because we saw Orks absolutely destroy everyone. We saw Imperial Knights actually have a really good showing the last couple of weeks. They have a lot of GT wins under their belt recently. And they also have like a really high win, win rate, which is like wild. I don't know where that came from, but they're at least I think in terms of tabletop battle stats, which is, take it or leave it. Their win rate is like at the top. I think they're number one, or at least they were number one in early January, the last time I looked at statistics. But that does include like casual games as well, so that might just be a little bit of a skill level bias. They are like the mid-table stomper army, where sometimes you just don't have the capacity to deal with them and they kill you. Killed Gilliman twice at LVO. He didn't stand back up either time. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I wish his ability... I don't know. Gilliman's ability kind of frustrates me because it's so impactful, but it's also so random, right? Like, I don't know. I don't like any of the 2+ you get back up abilities because like when you fail it, it can just ruin the game, and I don't. And his is a 3+ even. It's even more inconsistent. Like I don't know. I don't know how you would do it where it's not either trash or super broken. But like maybe just let that guy get back up. I don't know. You're already playing around him like he does get back up. So it would probably be a more interesting play experience for both players if you just did it. But it puts a lot of emphasis on the one roll, and I guess like that's exciting or whatever. But I don't think we're ever gonna get rid of those like 2+ an important thing happens rolls because that's just the design space of 40k. Even if I don't really agree with it, add points, make it automatic. Yeah, I mean realistically, we should probably be adding points anyway. Oh man. That dude's really good. I know I'm calling for buffs on one of the best epic heroes in the game right now, but it's just like one of those. It's one of those things where you want to reduce the inconsistency in the game or the randomness. Do I think the game is more balanced? You'll have to You'll have to elaborate. More balanced than compared to when? Compared to before the December update? Or before, like, you know, compared to the start of the edition? Compared to, what's the comparison? Let's talk about some Imperial Knights while we're here. We're rocking Noble Lance with Canis Rex and 1 million armigers. Just 1 trillion armigers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elverins. 1, 2, 3, 4 Warglaves, Calidus Assassin, Calexis Assassin. A Calexis, chat. That's cool and fun. You don't get to see Calexis Assassins that often, but they do, like... They, I don't know if there's, like, maybe a metagame consideration there. We're, like, really worried about Thousand Suns, so we just want the 2+ Feel No Pain Psychic guy in there. But also, he's a primary objective, like, manipulator. So you can do weird stuff with, like, battle shocking 2 OC infantry units early so that they can't steal objectives from the armigers, which is, like, a big deal. So, I kind of like him. Also, he might just be a backline objective holder, too. We just needed a lone operative, so we just bought that guy to stand on the back and hang out for a while. Be a little dude with a gun and shoot somebody sometimes. Pew! With his animus speculum. Otherwise, just we're doing our best Chaos Knights impression with Imperial Knights. They hit harder, but they don't move through walls, which is sad. Or I guess they have more rerolls. I don't necessarily think it's fair to say they hit harder. But they do get Canis Rex, so that's cool. More Imperial Knights. '68th place. Sasha Alexander Edelkraut got 69th place. What a Chad. Incredible. Oh, this looks like the same list, chat. Oh no, it's different. We have a Porphyrion? Wait. Alright, you caught me off guard here. 68th place, 5-1. With a Knight Acastus Porphyrion in our army. The man he cannot be stopped. This man is unlimited power. Oh my god. Alright, let's talk about this shit. Good. Our list name game is on point too. So we're rocking Canis Rex, 2 Armiger Helverins, 3 Armiger Warglaves, Calidus Assassin, and an Inquisitorial Agent unit for our allies. So a little bit of uppy downy for secondaries and a backline objective holder. And then this fucking Porphyrion. Oh my god. Before the December update, I think that the game is more balanced. I think that the game is more interesting now than it was before the December update because there's more content, but I don't think it's more balanced. I think that the Space Marine change and the Sororitas change were like too far in either direction, right? We basically saw a faction essentially like removed from competitive play, and we saw a faction become like wildly too powerful. I think if you do a little buff to Space Marines, if you like don't give Ultramarines +1 to wound, for example, but you do the other stuff, and we don't like quintuple nerf Adepta Sororitas, I think the game is actually in a really, really good spot. I think that the December update went a little too far in either direction with the buffs and the nerfs. But I do think also that the game is like in a really cool place where there's like every faction has multiple viable. I should say almost every faction. I don't want to say every faction. There's definitely going to be some weird ones in there. But almost every faction has more than one viable archetype, and that's super cool. Like, just this weekend, right? We started seeing index factions like Death Guard starting to get wins with, like, Flyblown Host, right? Their alternative detachments are seeing play. Even in factions that only have 2 detachments. That's rad. So, I think the game is maybe more like fun, but I don't think it's more balanced. I think something needs to be done about Space Marines, most likely. We'll see how things look in a couple of weeks, but I imagine that it's just gonna become more Space Marine pilled from here. All right, we were looking at this Porphyrion because I want to look at its data sheet because it has been since the beginning of the edition that I've looked at the Acastus Porphyrion, because this thing is a silly goober. I actually saw one. I was at a tournament a couple weeks ago, and there was somebody there with an honest-to-God Porphyrion in a Chaos Knights army, and I was like, you are a stud. Where did my... Hold up. Where did my window go? I just literally had its data sheet open. Ah! It disappeared. Alright, we found it. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Why wasn't this guy on Tabletop Live? Yeah. Perfect balance would be dull. Yeah, I don't disagree. But you can get to perfect balance, but you can get closer, right, than we did. And I think it was, I don't know. It felt kind of obvious that the Space Marine change would be too good. I don't know. The entire December update, like including Grotsmith, to some extent felt a little rushed, and it felt like that was a change that they made because there was like some mandate to buff Space Marines, and they were like, well, this is like the most straightforward way we can do it, without maybe really considering the implication of giving it to Ultramarines and just like making already the best Space Marine chapter like literally like twice as powerful. But it is what it is. Way too many teleporting Marines, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so yeah, the Giga Anti-Titanite. Yeah, so the Porphyrion, if we look at this, let's if we look at this little guy, find a picture. Okay, here's somebody's Porphyrion. From Tabletop Order. Ooh. So, this thing is fucking huge, chat. I believe that the base this is mounted on is the standard Questoris class, like Knight base. So it's the big oval that's like this big, and this guy dwarfs it. I think the model is like easily 13 or 14 inches tall. It's fucking huge. And he's a funny ball man who's just a walking set of laser cannons. It will basically like turbo nuke any one thing every turn that it has line of sight to. If it can see you, it's going to shoot you a million times and you're going to turn it into a vapor. The goal is not to let it see you, which is, fortunately for it, it's not that difficult because it's move 8. It is towering, so it can get like weird lines around ruins and stuff, but it is not very fast. It is not character keyworded, so you can't put Mysterious Guardian on it. You can't put it in reserve because he's too big. So it's just got to wander around the table and shoot you. But if it shoots you, it's firing 2d6, strength 18, AP 4, d6 plus 6 damage shots. It also has floating rerolls from being a knight, so you're getting a hit and wound reroll in there as well if you're laying low the tyrants, which you probably are because you're playing knights. It's like how knights work. It has also another got 2 las cannons and also the defense missile shots, another 3 d6 damage guns. So it's shooting like enough firepower to basically just like vaporize whatever. But it's just really slow. That's the thing. And it's super tough to kill, right? T13, 2+ save, 5+ involved. So it's not taking damage particularly quickly. But on the flip side, if you can see you, it will kill the shit out of you. So it kind of cops the hit on the chin, and then Blaze just vaporizes you in the crack bank. Seems pretty festive. Seems pretty festive. Yeah, not even devastating wins. Also, not very good if you engage it. If you touch this thing, it's got 6 2-damage melee attacks, and its big guns are blasts, so they can't fire into melee. So, like, cool. Well, I guess we live here now. And it has no way to fall back and do stuff. 2 quarts of paint to cover it up. Yeah, you don't want to paint this out of the little GW pots. It'll take you a little while. Dominus class calls Porphyrion daddy for sure. Yeah, the lethal, if you remain stationary, is very funny. I agree with that. This is like very much like index 40k energy. It's basically the same idea as like the Warlord Titan's Battle Shock if it shoots you. You're like, oh, I get lethal hits on my gun that's wounding basically the entire game on 2s with full rerolls. So cool. That's nice if I remain stationary and get no other benefits from remaining stationary. I guess it's indirect fire gun gets heavy, but it's firing indirectly, so it doesn't matter anyway. Inky's about to unplug my camera, I think. Can you not, Cat? Thank you. It can fall back if you use the Chaos version? Oh, really? That's rad. This is always a little bit confused me. I know that Chaos Knights can take the Forge World stuff, but I don't know how. I don't entirely understand how that works. There's like a rule somewhere in there, but I'm just not sure where it is. Can you fall back and charge in Praetorius Knights? Or fall back and shoot? It would have to be in Iconoclast, maybe? I don't know. Iconoclast fiefdom does it. That's actually pretty neat. Plus, you could give it sustained hits, right? By like dark pacting. That's actually probably kind of cool. That might be a cool little synergy there. I don't know. Is that sweet? Don't encourage Inky to ruin my live streams. How dare you? How dare you? What's up, kitty? You coming to visit? Chat's talking about you. She heard me say her name. I fucking love that a Porphyrion went X1 at LVO. That's super sick. I'm so glad we talked about this list. Good stuff, chat. Wah. Meow. What else do we want to talk about here, chat? What's next? Any other factions we want to dive into? What are you doing? She's just being a little goblin. What a little goblin. Eldar, Space Wolves. Did you do an agents list of the Warhound Titan? Yeah. I think we'll talk about the. I think we did talk about the Tyranids, I believe. 65th place. Dark Angels. We can talk about that one. We're already here. We'll take a peek at some of the other ones. Robert Moreau with Librarius Conclave. That's cool. Asriel. Triple Librarian. Interesting. We get Ezekiel in this detachment. We're like, fuck it. Who needs that guy? Not me. Get him out of here. Librarian with Prescience, Librarian with Fusillade, Terminator Librarian with Celerity. Double Terminator Librarians, because we can go into Deathwing Knight squads? Yeah, we can. Okay. Alright. I'm picking up what you're putting down. An Intercessor squad, triple Inner Circle Companions, Stern Guard Veteran squad. So this is cool. So it's less about the characters themselves, and more about the fact that the units in Dark Angels get more of a benefit from Librarians than the typical Space Marine units. So the Inner Circle Companions are like really jonesing for someone to give them a 4+ invulnerable save because they don't have one baked in. And the Librarians do that just baked in, just innately. So we have 1 unit for Azrael, 2 units for the 2 unupgraded Librarians. Plus, we have a Sternguard Veteran Squad for the Fusillade Librarian, so we can combo him out. We don't have a delivery system for them, but we might just be like rapid ingressing them off of a table edge, potentially. It's a little dicey, but sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. The downside of the Sternguard Veterans is that they kind of require that they get within 12 inches of their target. It's actually a reason I don't know if I really rate the unit like super highly. I think they're fine, but they get a little expensive once you start comboing them, and they need a delivery system. Clearly it worked out here though. 2 scout squads and then 2 Deathwing Knight units to get the benefits and the rerolls off the Terminator Librarians. One of them can advance and charge, so we might just be rapid ingressing one of them off of a teleport homer and then like just dumping the other one on the table and running them around the table. This is a cool list, chat. I like it. That's a very creative way to use Librarius Conclave in a way that makes it look a lot better than it does in any other sub-faction outside like Deathwatch, maybe. Funny how Josh Roberts changed from Necrons to Ultramarines after the balance update, yeah. Yeah, Josh Roberts, I think pretty accurately describes whatever's going to be good in the update for sure. Cool list. I love that. Glad it went to 5-1. That's sweet. We wanted to look at some Aeldari. Find some Aeldari. Let's take that. 29th place, Aeldari. They almost had a good run this weekend, too. We had a lot of X and 1 Aeldaris over here. Aeldari beat out Orks, chat. In terms of placement. What is happening in this game? What has happened to the game of Warhammer 40,000? Is this a real game? Triple Phobos Librarian with Eliminators is nice. Yeah, I like that combo too, for sure. I think it's pretty neat. We're running an Autarch Wayleaper, Avatar of Cain, DJ with Fate's Messenger, Farseer, Fuegan, Candyman, Guardian Defender unit for the Autarch to join. No, for the Farseer, I guess. We don't have a standard Autarch for them, so just give him a little bunker for the regular Farseer to deliver his auto 6s around. 2 Falcons, a unit of Fire Dragons, a unit of Shadow Specters, 1 unit of 2 Sky Weavers, a double Striking Scorpion units, a support weapon platform with a D cannon, so we have a little bit of indirect fire, plus a Swooping Hawk unit and a Warp Spiders unit for utility. Interesting. I guess open question whether we put Fuegan inside the Fire Dragon unit. A lot of times you don't do that because it's just like kind of unnecessary. You just kind of can play them independently and it's fine. But he does give them +1 to hit, so they can trigger off of the Falcon's fire support a little bit more easily. A lot of interesting combos with the fire support Falcons in here too, because I imagine that we are basically obligated to put a Striking Scorpion unit in there. And that's likely Karandras's unit because he has Devastating Wounds. So we can give wound rerolls. He'll get sustained hits, his like 4+ sustained hits, and then his Devastating Wounds against non-Titanic with rerolls from the Falcon. So he can actually convert like a ton of damage, and his unit's very cheap for what it does there, right? 155 plus the Falcon. And all you have to do is like flip the Shuriken Cannon shot into your target to fire support for the unit, and then they go kind of ham. That's cool. That's neat to see. It's cool we see the melee fire support combos, because we oftentimes just play some like Devastating Wound guns in there too. You can also get some use out of like we're probably putting a Phoenix Lord plus the the unit inside. Although Fuegan kind of doesn't really benefit from fire support because he rerolls his gunshot anyway, thanks to Battle Host. But if we had extra room, the Death Jester is actually really good inside that unit too. Hyped for the Eldar Codex? Yeah, it's gonna be. There's no way it's not super broken. All right. We had an ask to peek at Mechanicus. Take a look at some Adeptus Mechanicus. Garrett Stacy. Isn't he normally a Death Guard guy? He left his Death Guard at home. What a list name. All my models of stealth. I can redeploy. I have 0 to call the horde and 3 characters. 4 units of infiltrate. One scout. 4 unit scout. The whole army is a 5+ minimum. Thank you. I'm sure that will answer everyone's questions. It looks like a Skitarii Hunter cohort. Probably just a bunch of dudes. Look at all those dudes, chat. Oh, man. This army is such a meme. It's so funny because like it will just. These are low scores for this for the AdMech jail. That's wild. You expect some hundreds in there. This army is just like impossible to deal with if you don't have like a super high volume of shooting. And the downside of the Marine meta is that you also potentially have to deal with 6/2+ armor save, like Dreadnoughts and Vindicators running around. So you're like, well, do I skew into the armor cracking to kill that, or do I take the volume fire to kill this kind of stuff? And it just gets the benefit of that like split meta, right? It's a super hardcore skew list. So it's a clandestine infiltrator, so he gets scout and infiltrate. A veiled hunter marshal, so we get the redeployment. Cantic thrall net marshal, so we can double Doctrina somebody. Interestingly, we don't have any Battlesphere uplink at all. Not even running them. 1, 2, 3, 4 units of Rangers, so the Scout and OBSEC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of Vanguard. 2 units of Skystalkers for the double move. Triple Infiltrators. Fucking 30 Infiltrators in the middle of the table. Okay, man. And then 30 Rust Stalkers. So we're just going to windmill slam a million Infiltrators up in the center. Run them into your face to pin you down and stop you from moving and getting line of sight to the other stuff. Kind of stage the high OC stuff and then hit you with Rust Stalkers on turn 2. And theoretically, they've restricted your movement to the point that the game's like kind of over at that point, and you just win on primary. I actually wonder what the differential was in his games. Is there a way to can look at if we hit the top here? That's like a teams list. That's so interesting that we played it at a singles event. That's very teams energy. Oops. Ultramarines should have been included in the Oath exclusion list. Yeah, I think if they had, I think that Space Marines would be in a really interesting spot. And maybe also like include that it depends on the chapter keyword, not the units you take or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what the fix is, but I definitely think that it would be super good to exclude them. They feel a little bit abusive with the 00 thing. All right, this is taking a million years. We're just gonna keep looking at this. Oh no! What have we done? Okay, we're back. All right. We wanted to see Adepta Sororitas. Yeah. So Maj, Kutaifen. Hope that's right. Kutaifen. We're gonna go with that. Went 4-1-1 with Adepta Sororitas. Best we could do. Best I can do is 4-1-1. What's the next one? Only 16 Sisters players. 4 and 2, and then... Alright, well, the distribution below that's actually pretty okay. We've got Hallowed Martyrs, so we have the Grim Demeanor ability, and we can respawn our characters, which is important. Canoness is Saintly Example, so she'll generate additional Miracle Dice. There's actually, because the Miracle Dice mechanic got changed, there's actually like really kind of like problematic interaction with this, and nobody knows how it works, because the Miracle Dice gained through Saintly Example are additional to the Miracle Dice you gain from that unit being destroyed, but individual units don't generate Miracle Dice independently when they're destroyed. You just generate them at the end of the phase. So it's like an open question on when this timing occurs when these Miracle Dice are generated, and as far as I know, it has not been answered, which is a little bit unfortunate. That's the downside of like changing core faction mechanics like halfway through the edition. We have a Demonifuge. These Demonifuge is really good because they can absorb melee attacks. They fight first, can heroically intervene for free, and you can force, you can suffer and get sacrifice them, so you can force enemies to attack into them. So if they're in the center of like the melee brick, then there's like very little way to profitably engage, because they'll intervene, stab you, and then force you to kill them. You'll kill them, resurrect the Ephrael Stern, and just like set up to do it again the next turn. And as long as you have the CP and the Miracle Dice to fuel it, it's like super annoying. Judith Aeroida to generate some CP, speaking of command points. Morphin Ball, Palatine with Through Suffering Strength. So she's going to hit like an absolute Mac truck, especially if she's wounded, plus St. Celestine. Immolator, a Rhino, 10 Arcoflagellants, big unit. Double Castigator. Looks like only battle cannons here. We've left our autocannons at home. Who needs them? I will ignore cover now on you. Take that. I guess that's probably good if we're shooting Space Marines all day, which is probably the consideration. A big unit of Celestian Sacrosaunts. Paragon Warsuit team. That might be where the Canoness is hanging out, and that's what the Rhino is delivering to the fight. Pinky, what are you doing? Knocking stuff off my desk? That's fun. Paragon Warsuit team for Morphin Ball to hang out with. A Sister Novitiate squad for infiltration, Calidus Assassin, and a Subductor squad. Is this list from like 3 months ago? This list looks like it stayed the same for a while. Come on, kitty. Oh, yeah, I know. It's so unfair. It's so unfair that I don't let you run around and knock things off my desk. You're so abused. You're such an abused animal, and everything sucks. Oh, this is comfortable? This is how you want to sit? Yeah? Okay, well. We got an arm workout, I guess, chat. You know you're in a bad place when your best choice is to ally agents units? Yeah. Yeah, you know you're in a bad place when your win rate's basically commensurate with Imperial Agents. An army made up of a bunch of kill team boxes. Unfortunate. Alright. We wanted to take a peek at Thousand Suns. I know Malachi Fowler did pretty good with Thousand Suns. He did get 90 first place. Was he the only Thousand Suns player? Oh my god! Is that real? Oh no, just kidding. I looked up his name. There were 25. Okay. Oh, TJ Lanigan did much better. Okay, we'll talk about TJ Lanigan. That was a brain fart moment, chat. I'm sorry. I'm distracted by my cat running around and threatening all my cables. I imagine it's like normal Thousand Suns stuff. Thousand Suns hasn't really innovated in like 10 years, so I think we're looking pretty similar.
18 donated £2 through Super Chat. Autopsy on one of the Chads who took Howie.
TJ Lannister? Is that what we called him? Man always pays his debts. If you know the TJ Lanigan saga, that's actually very appropriate. TJ Lannister. Oh, that's his name now. He's running Disc Aramon, an Exalted Disc Sorcerer with a double Ritual, Infernal Master with Arcane Vortex for +1 damage, Umbrella Crystal Infernal Master. Oh, only 2 Infernal Masters. It's a little different, I guess. And a Standard Sorcerer to say, please don't shoot me. Please, God, I don't want to be shot. I want to live. I want to live! Magnus the Red. 1, 2, 3 units of Rubrics. So we have Rubric squads for the double Infernal Masters and the Sorcerer. 2 Mutalith Vortex Beasts, double Cultists, double Zangor Enlightened, or Utility. Pretty standard stuff, to be honest. Kind of just like a question of whether you take 1 Mutalith Vortex Beast and more Rubrics or not, I think is kind of the open question. Because sometimes you also see the extra spot for the a third Vortex Beast. Alright, Agents of Imperium chats. 2 players played Imperial Agents. Oh no, one of them went 0-1 drop. Alright, Adam Funk. What do you got, buddy? 3-3. That's an even result. Playing Imperialis Fleet. So he's got the Rogue Trader detachment. He is the pick an objective, and you either get +1 to wound attacking enemies on the objective, or you give yourself an invulnerable save while you're holding objective. An Eversor Assassin, Inquisitor Draxus, Vindicare Assassin, Watch Captain Artemis. I was just playing with cables, chat. An Inquisitor, a Navigator, a Rogue Trader Entourage. Navigator has Combat Lander, so that gives your units Deep Strike, I believe. Rogue Trader Entourage with Clandestine Operation, so we can infiltrate, and then the Rogue Traders can redeploy D3 Battle Line. Also, Watchmaster with Digital Weapons, so you can do mortal wounds in the fight phase. We have 2 Deathwatch kill teams, so we might actually literally have a kill team for Artemis to join into, which is actually kind of rare. A lot of times he just plays by himself. An Imperial Navy Breacher team, ×2. Inquisitorial Agents, ×2. 3 Subductor squads, a Voidsman unit, a Corvus Blackstar, let's fucking go, plus an Armiger Warglaive. I guess, like, the Corvus Blackstars are not a bad delivery system for maybe the non-Watchmaster, for the Watch Captain Artemis kill team, because they don't have Advance and Charge baked in, whereas the other kill team can, like, just sort of rapid ingress and then advance into a pretty strong position. Otherwise, we're using a bunch of forward operation and just, like, kind of throwing a bunch of units all over the place in order to try to push primary, because we have, like, an infinite number of, like, random individual units. Between the Breachers, like 1 million Subductors, which are kind of sticky to kill, plus the Inquisitorial Agents, which can be kind of sticky to kill as well. You can also use the reactive stratagem after you get shot at with the character units to, like, keep yourself alive, and just try to move block and kind of just, like, you know, push scoring as hard as you can. Pretty wild. No Chimeras or Rhinos. We're not playing any, besides the Corvus Blackstar, we're not playing any transports whatsoever. Who needs a way to get these guys up to the middle? Fuck it. We just take more infantry. Who cares? Three is better than they thought? Yeah, Inquisitorial Agents, I think if you're good at playing these, like, really weird, like, scoring varieties, Inquisitorial Agents has, like, a lot of play. But obviously it's I don't know, it's tough. It's a tough army to play. And you're kind of, like, putting a lot of work in to be mediocre, you know what I mean? Like, if you're good at playing Imperial Agents, you're good at like, you know, going like 4-2, 3-3. Which is, I don't know, just so kind of okay, I guess. How did Space Wolves do? Got a couple of people ask for Space Wolves. Brendolf, I got your back, buddy. Take a peek at Space Wolves. Our top Space Wolf player was 156th place. Oh, how far the mighty have fallen, chat. These guys existed in the upper echelon for like half the edition. As soon as Stormlands came out, everyone was like, check out my 24 Thunderwolf Cavalry. And that stayed the same literally forever, and now nobody's playing them. Space Wolves are in a particularly awkward position because it feels like there's basically no reason to play them, and that sucks. Like, you never want that to be the case for your army. Like, I don't think that they're like necessarily bad by any stretch of the imagination. They're just not as good as Ultramarines. And there's like, they basically do Ultramarine stuff, but strictly worse. So you're like, I don't know. Space Wolves are like fine, but like, why would I play them over Ultramarines? Which feels bad. We are playing Champions of Russ here, so we get our sustained hits and advance in charge right off the bat, which is cool. Logan Grimnar, Ragnar Blackmane, a Phobos Lieutenant. I think somebody was asking about Reavers earlier, and we actually do have the Reaver squad combo in here. So the Phobos Lieutenant can jump into the unit, and then once they shoot, they get to move d6 inches and then can charge afterwards. So you can, if you have grab shoots on the unit, you can deep strike them, shoot their pistols, maybe do something. They have lethal hits, like you might do a wound, but then move them d6, and it basically gives them like a 3d6 charge out of deep strike. It's a little worse than that because they can't re-roll the first d6 from the shoot and scoot, but they can re-roll their charge roll up potentially after that as well, so they can get up in there. We also took a frost weapon on that guy. I think that's +1 strength and damage, which is actually kind of neat. He has 1 million like AP1 sustained attacks, I believe. It's like 6 attacks, AP1 sustained, I want to say. Plus lethal hits while he's leading the unit too, which you can't forget. 5, yeah, strength 4, AP1. And then if we are in old Space Wolves, the frost weapon is precision +1 strength and AP. So he's strength 5, AP2, lethal sustained precision. What a profile. That's so weird. That's I think largely a points filler in there, just to fill out the last 15 points. Thunderwolf Battle Leader with Pelt of the Beowulf. Thunderwolf with Black Death for the anti-monster, anti-vehicle. We have an Assault Intercessor squad that's usually for Ragnar Blackmane to hang out with. Infiltrator squad to screen the backline. Reaver squad for the Phobos Lieutenant, as we just talked about. Scout squad, 2 Wolfen squads just to punch people. 2 units of Thunderwolf Cavalry so we can access our advance and charge with those guys and to sort of pin the opponent down. 2 Vindicators and an Impulsor. Impulsors to carry Ragnar Blackmane around. Pretty sweet. Pretty neat stuff. Nice to see the Reavers on the table. No Hounds of Mordecai, though. It makes me sad, but that's okay. We can forgive them, I guess. Not Hounds of Mordecai. I think they're cheaper, or they're more expensive. And there's like some sort of anti-synergy, if I remember correctly. I guess they just don't have the OC aura, the OC manipulation aura. So the cool thing about Reavers is that they're basically like Skitarii Vanguard. They drop your OC if they're near you. So they can drop you to OC 0 and steal objectives away, which makes them really good at flipping objectives and like mucking with your opponent's stuff. The Hounds of Mordecai are just like, you just have devastating, which is actually it's actually kind of anti-synergistic with the Lieutenant, because the Lieutenant makes you roll less devastating wound, because he converts a lot of your attacks into lethal hits. So you automatically wound and then don't have to roll devastating. I also think that they may not have gotten +1 AP. I think they got forgotten. I don't remember though. According to Waha, they have not yet received +1 AP, but that might be outdated. I'm not sure. When did people start using as many Vindicators? They've always been kind of ever present, I think. But the yeah, I don't know if they've ever really gone away. I think they've actually gotten nerfed a couple times, and they're still seeing play. But it's mostly like their gun is just really good, and they operate at a range which is correct, which is important in the game right now. I could actually stand to see Vindicator's gun range drop. It feels like it's a little long, but okay. I think they're seeing extra play now because they can operate very independently, even without Oaths of Moment. Like if you can source a +1 to hit on them, then they're like wounding everything on 3s and probably hitting on 2s. So a lot of times you play them with incursors, and you'll Oath of Moment from something that your little guns kill. If you're playing them in a compliant chapter that gets +1 to wound, then like you can point all your like little strength 10 guns and strength like autocannons and stuff at one thing that gets oathed and kill that, and then the Vindicators you shoot an incursor at their target so they hit on 2s and they wound on 3s probably, and then they'll kill that thing too. So they kind of like synergize with the faction as a whole really well right now. Plus they're just like their stat line's like really perfect. Like high armor save characteristic vehicles are good right now. You don't really ever need a range longer than 24 inches generally speaking. It just in the way that the terrain layouts are constructed and the emissions work. So they're just well situated for 10th edition in general. Yeah, Chaos started them like instantly. Yeah, you played the triple Vindicators with the Abaddon and Hellbrute Brick with Mark of Miracle. We actually saw that top 8, although without Abaddon, obviously. Want to talk about Don Husin? All right. Lost in the Shadow round. It looks like that's sad. Running a Plague Company. Lord of Virulence, double Plague Casters, Mortarion, Typhus. Defilers? What? Whoa! That's wild. It's 3 Predator Destructors, a Destroy Terminator unit for Typhus to hop into, Fetid Blow Drones with Fetid Flight Haulers. And Defilers. What are the Defilers doing? That's wild. It feels like the top has been a lot of like weird vehicle selections. We had the Mauler Fiends in the Chaos Space Marine list. Like, where did those come from? What the fuck? Fucking Mauler Fiends, dude. Wild. Rocking Defilers right now. Let's take a peek. Take a peek at these guys. They're kind of like a jack of all trades a little bit. They get a Defiler Cannon, which I think is just a battle cannon, right? E6 plus 3, 10, 1, 3. Reaper Autocannon, Twin Heavy Flamer, Claws. Twin Heavy Flamer, you can take a Scourge, which we did, which is an extra attack, Strength 12, AP1, 2 damage. Also has like the worst model ever. I don't understand. It's so bad. They at the time they couldn't like, because Defilers are like 25 years old, and they physically couldn't model like the flailing, so it just sticks forward. It's so bad looking. It looks unfinished. Reaper Autocannon can be replaced with a Twin Las Cannon, which was, but we didn't. We took a Plague Heavy Bolter. There were Sustained Lethal Twin Linked. Cute. Plus a combi weapon. Combi Bolter. So it's a Lord of Virulence, so we can Blight Bombard, right? Because he has a buff for your blast weapons. Yeah. You get +1 to hit with blast weapons. So the Death Guard Defilers shooting a Defiler Cannon and a Havoc Launcher at something that is visible to the Lord of Virulence. Oh, he could also just hop into the Destroy Terminator unit too, I imagine, actually, is probably what happens. Then you're hitting on 2s. So the entire brick is hitting on 2s. You can reduce their armor save if you have Contagion close enough So this becomes essentially AP2, and then you can use the strat for ignore cover, right? It is called Ferric Blight. No, it's just +1 AP. Oh, Boil Blight. Heavy and ignore cover. So if we stack everything... we could be AP3 ignore cover on this guy. With the equivalent of like strength 11-ish. It's actually kind of sick. And then you're also good in melee. 16 AP3 D6 +1. With a total of 8 attacks. And like, they're contaging you, so... or I guess they don't have contagions in Nurgle. Wait, really? Is that real? Do they not contage people? Oh, it's just under the Deadly Demise. I just misread it. Just kidding. So, you could potentially also be the equivalent of AP4 on that gun too, on the melee attack too, if you're reducing their armor save characteristic. The downside is delivering them, but like, if you're throwing enough trash at your opponent, it's probably fine. Like, you gotta maneuver them into position, which is always really awkward. But we have 3 Predator Destructors and 3 Blight Haulers and two Blow Drones. So we're just like leading with all these little idiots, and they have to expose their anti-tank. And then you like drop your Lord of Virulence, wombo combo out your big buffs, kill them with the guns, and then like kind of late game out with the Defilers. This list is cool. Plus there's Mortarion like hanging out there. So you can't even like Armor of Contempt against them. That is a cool list, chat. If anybody can make the funny like the funny Death Guard motor pool work, it's Don Huson. This man fucking loves his Death Guard. His like weird Death Guard vehicle builds. Crab tanks, the OG. Am I transporting all my models? They're basically all transported already. I just have my Marine Army and my Chaos Demons with me right now, just for games that I play in the area. But I have like stacks of big like those plastic drawers, like the shelves with the drawers, and every time I move, I just tape them up and then put them in my car. It's pretty low key, but that's where all my miniatures live. Yeah, the double Malignant Playcasters. Yeah, that's a classic. They're classic little pew pew guys. Are the Defilers on bases? No. I believe that Defilers are have never been on a base in their entire life. Because it's the Soul Grinder that's weird because they decided to give it a base for Age of Sigmar. But the Defiler has never included a base. Look at this fucking flail, by the way. It's so stupid looking. Why is it stick forward? Oh man, this model's so old. It's so cool though, but it's so old, but it's so cool. The Crabbo. But yeah, the Defilers have never been on a base. They've always been hull measurement, which has been super awkward because this model, even worse than the Soul Grinder, this model has created like so many rules inconsistencies and like rules weirdness in the past because of how like movement works and interacts with models. Whether you can or can't like move under or over it is like always been a question because oftentimes you can assemble it so that its arms can reposition. And then you have to like ask yourself the question like whether or not you can like gain advantages by repositioning its arms in weird ways. It's a nightmare. It's a fucking nightmare, but you know, it should be on a base. I want it to be on a base, but who knows, dude. It's a whisk. He's gonna make some fucking whipped cream with this thing. Oh man. Double Inquisitors and a Chimera, not quite as good. Yeah. I like the Inquisitors in, like, if you can give them fire support, it's kind of sick. So, like, random, like, Razorbacks and shit, it's kind of cute. Because then they can wound reroll out of the top with their devastating Torrent Flamer, which is sweet. In love with the idea of a leg tank, but hasn't aged well. I think this model has aged gracefully, to be fair. The weapons are a little silly because they're old, but, like, I don't know. I think with a nice enough paint job, it looks good, right? Like, this is the most recent paint job that they've done on it, and it holds up with the rest of the faction. It's a lot of flat surfaces that you got to work with, but, like, that lets you do fun freehand stuff. I don't know. I think it's held up better than the Eldar range, that's for sure. Wait, are its side sponsons just the Razorback, like, turret mount? I actually have never noticed that. That's actually sick. So you could, like, theoretically repurpose its guns as Razorback turrets. That's cool. I love interchangeable parts, chat. I'm a big fan. Flail front towards enemy. Oh, man. Better than the Eldar range isn't really an achievement. I guess it's true. That's a low bar. But it's like the same time period, right? And I think this, like, looks a lot better. I don't know. What else is there from this period? I guess this was in line with, like, the Space Marine, like, Firstborn tanks. Which I would say I don't think have aged particularly well. They're, like, small and kind of silly looking. Oh, anyway, chat. I think we're gonna go ahead and give it a little bit of a wrap up here in a moment. I am tired and my throat is sore, so I think that's gonna be most of the stream. So thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. I do have a stream scheduled for tomorrow. I think what we're gonna do tomorrow is a lot of the same thing. I want to go through the both the undefeated players at LVO, right? Who went undefeated but didn't make the top cut or dropped. And I also want to go through the same thing for the Nottingham Super Major, which we talked about last week, because there's a lot of players that didn't really get their time in the sun because they lost out on tiebreakers in that event. So I think it's only fair to give them a fair shake. So that's the plan for next week. We're going to talk about some other big names and some big armies over there. Did Josh Roberts play any stream games? I want to say that he did, but I'm not 100% sure. Would I consider going through some mid-tier lists? I guess it depends on what you mean by mid-tier lists. Like we talk about X and ones all the time. Or do you mean like list reviews? I do list reviews. We can talk about it tomorrow. Anyway, chat. I'm gonna go ahead and pop off. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me, folks. Keep it classy and all that stuff. Stay tuned for some more content. I have a new series that I'm gonna be trying to kick off here. I want to do some more new player sort of friendly stuff. So I think I'm gonna try to start a series on getting started with the faction and kind of building that out. And if that does well, we'll run through all the factions with that. So that'll be fun. I'll probably I'm likely to be started on that this week. But otherwise, yeah, it's normal scheduled things. And my schedule's a little bit funny this week because I'm moving, obviously, so that's a lot of my time. But next week should be, or I guess the week after should be a little bit more standard. I do have the Captain Con, GT. I'm streaming next weekend. That's the first weekend of February, so not this coming weekend. It's the one after that. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun games of 40K over there. So I'll see you there. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today, and have a good week.